Hello everybody, welcome back. If you were watching the channel over the winter and springtime, you would know that I loaded a deck on a certain company that just hiked their dividend 4.2%, and that is VICI Properties. VICI is by far the coolest REIT, as you do get to profit off of hookers, cocaine, and gambling all in one with their VICI Properties along the Vegas Strip. It's really the all-in-one investment, and one day I hope to use my VICI dividends to fuel that addiction. VICI was an obvious interest rate recovery play for me personally, but we've seen some quick returns, up 20% from their lowest point around a few months ago. I've seen some nice gains in my VICI position. Today I'm going to be sharing where I'm at with VICI right now, the dividend news, my thoughts on the business and how it's been growing recently, and more. And thank you to my channel members Jacob, Redwood, and SoFi Boy Major Speed. I appreciate you all. On to the video.
Hello, I like money.
So as I mentioned earlier, over the last 6 months, VICI is up 15.51%. Now, if you bought at the absolute bottom, which is around like $26.50 for just like a few hours, I'm pretty sure, you would have a 20% return now, which is very impressive. Now, VICI Properties is a company that I was investing in mainly as an interest rate recovery play, but also as an income play and a dividend growth play. As a REIT, they do have actually solid dividend growth, which we'll get into for being a REIT. Typically, REITs hike their dividend around like 2 or 3% every year. VICI's had a track record of hiking at 7-10%. Now, I wouldn't expect 7 or 10% growth every single year, and I'm not expecting that into any of my projections when it comes to VICI. But you combine that with the quality yield that they offer right now, it's still around 5%, and it's going to be a really nice income play over the long term, I believe. When it comes to VICI's actual business, a big part of their business is the Las Vegas Strip, which is basically an irreplaceable destination. They have a bunch of long-term leases locked in there, just consistent cash flow month in, month out. Earlier this year, REITs were trading down compared to the rest of the market by quite a bit of margin. This was mainly due to the higher interest rates, and obviously, a real estate company uses more debt. They're going to be impacted by interest rates, and I think that's a bit of the reason why the dividend hike this year was obviously smaller. But I'm not considering that really a bad thing at all. Right now, I believe that the market is anticipating some interest rate slashes soon, which would be good for VICI. But long term for me, it was obvious that these interest rates wouldn't last forever and that they'd eventually come down to earth, and that made VICI a pretty obvious play for me. I'd lock in a really quality yield on cost and see some capital appreciation in the meantime, which I'm seeing right now. I was fortunate enough to consistently invest when VICI was trading around $27 to $29 this winter, but the kind of dividend growth combined with the yield that is really impressive, especially if you were buying a few months ago when it comes to VICI, I think it makes it different from like other real estate companies and REITs like Realty Income perhaps. Yesterday, VICI announced a 4.2% dividend increase, which I'm completely happy with as a shareholder and as somebody who owns a REIT. I'm not expecting consistent 10%, 8% dividend growth every single year. And especially at a time with interest rates like this, I could see a lot of people panicking that the dividend hike was lower than it was in years past. But you just got to keep in mind interest rates were rough on them this year. A 4.2% hike, still above inflation right now. I'm very happy with that and fine. I think the timing of getting into VICI does matter though. I think that obviously the interest rates when they were highest, that was the most obvious time to get into VICI and Realty Income and all those other REITs. I think that's a large part of where your total return is going to come from, and I don't think right now is the greatest time to be buying VICI. And as somebody who's young like me and focuses on total return, that was a big part of why I loaded up when I thought it was cheap. Last year, VICI hiked their dividend 6.4%, and in the years past, they've hiked it around 8%. They have a 5-year dividend growth at around 7%, so you're seeing on average around a 6, 7, 8% dividend increase every year since VICI's inception in 2017. Now, I would not expect that to continue. As I mentioned, real estate companies don't have a lot of like crazy explosion when it comes to their cash flows. I wouldn't expect a 15% increase every single year from VICI Properties, but I'm completely fine. I am so fine with a 4% increase every year. That is great, especially when you lock in a really good price like I did. I'm fine with that. And yield on cost. A big concern a few years ago when I first started my VICI position was the large amount of concentration in Vegas. What if something bad happened to Vegas, etc., etc. They've been heavily investing and heavily expanding and diversifying their portfolio of properties. They have a lot of experiential based real estate, just places that can't be like taken away from AI and robotics and Amazon. They have new partnerships coming out consistently, like the one with Margaritaville in Kansas City. That's a really big destination when it comes to like Little League baseball teams every single year. So, I mean, reoccurring revenue there. There's no worries about whether they're going to collect the rent or not. Just the businesses that they're having partnerships with and collecting rent from, just very stable at the end of the day. I think VICI's a quality REIT, but it does matter when you got in, and I think that's a big part of my return right now that you're going to be seeing. I plan to continue to hold on to my VICI properties, collect my dividends every quarter, and just let this thing compound and ride out. If it drops, interest rates go up, I will be loading the deck up once again. I appreciate you all for watching. Smash like and subscribe. Become a channel member today. Check out my live show, The Cashflow Kings, live every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Have a good one. Do dividend stocks, not drugs.